Welcome to AP U.S. History. We're looking at Chapter 25, and we'll be exploring how World War II got started, and later a video we'll be talking about World War II itself. Nothing happens in a vacuum. Nothing happens by happenstance. Because the United States lacked the willpower or the will to take its role on as a world leader, and the fact that there was this peace movement in the United States led us into a false sense of security. We thought that our oceans would protect us, that we didn't need to get involved in Europeans' affairs. After World War I, we slipped right back into the isolationist policies that we've been following for 100 years. And so tyrants are going to appear in different parts of the world, particularly Hitler, Mussolini, and Japan. There were attempts at collective security in the 1920s and the Great Depression. The League of Nations was formed out of the Treaty of Versailles. It was supposed to be a collective security organization, but the United States was not part of that. And Germany and Japan initially were not part of that. We are never going to belong to the League of Nations because the irreconcilables, the Republicans, felt that if we were part of that, we would give up some of our sovereignty, and so we're going to go it alone. The U.S. the U.S. Senate refused to adhere to the word court, and again, this isolationist policy. When aggression does happen in Italy and these nations, Japanese and the Germans, flex their muscles, we aren't going to do nothing, except sometimes send a condemnation, but we just want to talk. Now, the Washington Disarmament Conference takes place in 1921 and 1922. Its main purpose was to reduce capital ships in the Pacific. These are the battleships because they were very expensive to build. Some of the Americans who were seeking an isolationist policy, one was Senator Henry Cabot Lodge. He was from Maine, and he refused to sign the Treaty of Versailles, and rejected any kind of treaties with any other nation. Eventually, we will pass a resolution in 1921, a joint resolution passed by Congress and the Senate, saying the war is over. Now, at the Washington Conference in 1921-1922, the long-standing Anglo-Japanese alliance, this is the alliance between the British and the Japanese, which obligated Great Britain to aid Japan in the event of any kind of Japanese war with the United States, is going to be renegotiated. The main goal was a disarmament and a political solution to the Far East, rather than building up military. Locarno Pact was passed in 1926. Western powers guaranteed existing borders and sought peaceful solutions. Many Europeans believed the spirit of Locarno meant no more war in Europe, but in a short period of time, that is not going to be true. The Kellogg-Briand Pact was put together by the United States and France. 62 nations signed it and said that war was going to be illegal, but it could be legal if it was for defensive purposes. However, there was no enforcement mechanism, so aggressors who signed this pact could pretty much violate it, and nobody was going to say anything or do anything about it. Americans, because they want to live in peace and they want to be isolated from the world, get a false sense of security from these different pacts that are being created in the world. And so it's supposed to guarantee the common borders of Belgium, France, Germany, as specified in the Treaty of 1919. Germany signed the treaties with Poland and Czechoslovakia, agreeing to change the western borders of Germany by arbitration only. So they're talking about talking rather than going to war. Again, this is a picture of the folks signing the Kellogg-Briand Pact in 1928. Probably a term that you'll need to know. In fact, this is the secret words for this particular video, Kellogg-Briand Pact. So remember that. Outlawing war, but only as a tool of foreign policy, but you could fight a defensive war. 62 nations sign on to it. Again, the problem, no enforcement of if somebody violated it. The Dawes Plan was put together in 1924, and the U.S. bankers gave Germany loans, which were guaranteed by the U.S. government, which Germany never paid back. But this money was supposed to go to Germany so they could pay their reparations to Britain and France. Remember, when the war was over, all blame was placed on the Germans, and they were supposed to pay $33 billion to France and Great Britain. U.S. credit continued to help finance this up until 1929, when the Great Depression hit, and then we're going to suspend giving money to the Germans. Hoover will declare a moratorium on the debt. That is, okay, you don't have to pay it for a while. In 1932, he was hoping that the European countries would have money to buy U.S. goods. All debtor nations failed to pay the U.S. their loan payments, and to this day, we have never received that money back. European powers, many of them felt that they had bled on the battlefield more so than U.S., and that the U.S. should just simply forgive the loan. If you remember back, Coolidge said that no way were we going to forgive the loan. This is how this Ponzi seemed to work. We were going to give money to Germany. Germany was going to give it to the Allies, and the Allies were going to give it back to the U.S. You can see that this, where you start and where you finish, the United States is not too far ahead. The Germans never repaid the loans. What the Allies pay is about the same as we loan, so we're no further ahead. Americans pushed for a good neighbor policy. This was under Hoover. Said that we were going to remove troops from Latin America, and that we weren't going to impose our will on Latin American neighbors. This is a 180 degrees difference in foreign policy than Hoover's big stick policy that he instituted. So the Clark Memorandum promotes this good neighbor policy. The Montevideo Conference is in 1933. No nation has a right to intervene in the external affairs of another nation. So this is supposed to make the Latin American folks feel better about America. This is, again, Clark, nice man. We're not going to intervene in Latin American affairs. We're going to let them take care of their own affairs. So this is a rebuke of Teddy Roosevelt's corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, that is, we would be the policemen of the Western Hemisphere. Well, we're saying that we're all one happy family and that we'll work together. Declaration of Lima, 21 nations agreed to resist together any threat to peace in the Western Hemisphere. The Americans attend the London Economic Conference. Goal: confront global depression, stabilize the currency, and revive international trade. FDR undermined the conference as he did not want to return to the gold standard, which many of the Europeans wanted. So this probably went nowhere, or did go nowhere. FDR recognized the USSR in 1933, which up to that point we had not recognized the communist government in Russia. He was hoping that this would be something that he could use against the aggression of Japan. So they were flexing their muscles in Manchuria and other places. So he felt if we had better relationship with Moscow, that could counter the Japanese threat in Asia. And he was also hoping to open up some markets for American goods. So this is certainly a reversal of how the Americans felt about the Soviet Union, which is a communist country, and we are dead set against communism and socialism. The rise of totalitarian regimes. There's going to be several. Under these fascists, these fascist states glorified the state, and they wanted to expand their borders. They certainly believe in social Darwinism, that is, survival of the fittest, and they felt that they were the most fit. Mussolini was hoping to revive the Roman Empire, and he'll come to power in 1922. The Japanese military dictatorship in the 1930s, they wanted to control what they call their zone in Asia. Adolf Hitler essentially wanted to expand his borders in Europe. He wants to be a world power. Communists at the time certainly have a pretty ruthless government, going through many purges, killing lots of people in the name of state security. Eventually, Japan will invade Manchuria in 1932 or in 31. They already have Korea, which is a satellite of Japan, and because Manchuria has raw materials that they need for industrial power, coal and iron, they covet this area of China. The League of Nations condemned their invasion. As a result, Japan will leave the League of Nations and never return. Hoover wanted no part in any kind of military action. He just said, we condemn this action, but we're not going to lift a finger to stop it. And the interesting thing about tyrants, and when you don't lift a finger to stop them, they just seem to get more bold. The League of Nations condemned the actions, and Japan will withdraw. The Hoover-Stimson Doctrine was put together, and it said that we did not recognize Japanese conquest of Manchuria, and started to a massive naval buildup in the 1930s. Italy invades Ethiopia in 1935, again trying to restore this Roman Empire. Mussolini was looking forward to attacking some defenseless nation. Ethiopia almost defeated the Italian forces, but in the end, Haile Selassie is driven out, and Ethiopia falls under the control of the Italians. The League of Nations did nothing about it, and it falls apart in 1935. In 1940, interesting thing happens. The Germans, the Italians, and the Japanese sign a pact, the Tripartite Pact, which said that if anyone was attacked by someone else, that the other two would come to their aid militarily. Again, here's the Hoover-Stimson Doctrine, and the Japanese were infuriated by this action. They thought we were a little bit hypocritical. In 1932, Japan will bomb Shanghai, and there'll be massive casualties there. Essentially, America wanted to stay out of world affairs. And we're going to stop right there. And